Welcome to Let's Get Dramatic with Nicole. This video is for drama teachers or other teachers that are teaching technical theater. This is how I teach my set design and construction unit. So I do use an interactive notebook for all of my lessons. However, I do have it also in digital format, so a digital interactive notebook. So as I go through these pages, you'll see a little picture down on either side that just shows the worksheet that I use for a digital interactive notebook. I have not always been able to print out a ton of copies. When I can, I love this for my district I'm in right now. This works great, but for other districts I've been in or other places, it didn't work. So I have both versions. Not to mention, from requests from you guys, I am working on creating all of the worksheets that I have done in my digital interactive notebook to be as just worksheets and activities that you can do. This is my stage management one with the videos, but that will take me a little bit of time. So I will be on that. I'm on it right now, but just so you know, I will be having just activities and worksheets for all of this. Okay, so the first page I do with every single unit when I'm doing it is this page. I've talked about it in stage management if you watch that video. If not, go ahead and check that out after you're done with this one if you want. But this is a coloring page. All of my pages, I do not have time or take time to have the students color them at school or before we do an activity. Most of the time I use that just as an incentive for them to be working when they get done with a project as a fast finisher. So this is a fast finisher for them to use. And then if they get all of these pages that I'm going to show you colored and looking nice and everything's organized like I talk about in stage management, keeping it organized, then they can come up for each unit that we do and get a vinyl sticker to put on the front of their composition notebook as just a reward for doing great. So first we're going to cut this out. Okay, and then we turn it over and glue it on. So then we glue it on. I have everything linked to the lesson plan on Teachers Pay Teachers. So there's a video showing the students how to cut out and what to do with each interactive notebook page and how to glue it on so they're not wasting too much glue and all of that stuff. And then I also have that for the digital interactive notebook for any assignments that are different in there. You can have them watch that video. As we go through this unit, they are going to color it. And here is my example for them. So this page is for fast finishers. I only sell this one. Well, it's actually a freebie. When you buy my entire unit, you get this page for free. So I'm not going to show you how to cut out and glue things in and color them each time. I just wanted you to see that example. But I have another video that shows the students how to do all of this. So you can always look at how I do that before you decide to get into the interactive notebook. That could help. And then my first lesson over here is designing and construction. It's an overview of all the stuff we're going to be doing. So we're going to talk about visualizing the world, designing the vision, and then building from shop to stage. And this is just how I chose to break down my set design and construction unit. And I have a PowerPoint that I teach all of this from. All of these lessons will have a slideshow that is in Google Slides that you can edit all of the words on, so you can put your own personality into the presentation. But I also have a video recording of me teaching the lessons. And if you want to check out how I do that, I actually have this one for my day 2 to 3 activity recorded and put up for free on my YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out. But this one is a slideshow that just talks about these 3 different sections, and we kind of go over what we're going to be covering for the full unit and answer any questions that they have in regards to that. And then day 2 to 3 is pretty intense for me because I'm teaching them how to design for set design. So I dive into time period and location, and then I have the lesson that has notes about time period and location, and on the slides, these are underlined so they know what notes they need to write down. And then I have these 5 different eras that we look at, and then they would go to the Elizabethan tab, and I have on the slide details for that Elizabethan slide. And then I give them a little bit of time to write down some shows that they know that they could use this for. Now, my students are fairly young. I teach 6th and 7th grade, so when I talk about shows, I am fine if it's TV shows, even video games, books that they've read. If they can think of any scenes that they could visualize that this could go in, I allow that just because they're young and sometimes don't know of that many plays yet. I will introduce them to that. And then we talk about Art Deco in the same way, industrial, Victorian, and mid-century. And then after we do that, I also do the color palette, texture, material, and mood board. So we talk about and define those right here. And then I have them look at some mood boards and they write down what shows and characters they could see that room working for. So if you look at that video that I have put up on YouTube, it will give them a certain amount of time and it shows a picture of the room and the color palette that was used to create that room. If you are teaching this in the interactive notebook, I do recommend that you have your students write down all of these notes before they cut it out and they put it into their book, just because this can get a little bit sketchy when they're trying to write on it if it's not, or because they've cut it out already. And so I have them do this worksheet while it's on a full sheet of paper, and then we just cut it out and put it in here for reference, and we'll go back and reference this several times, both of these several times throughout the lessons. All right, next I have a script right here. It's just a little script that I created that I have them read through, and they highlight the different set design needs that this script has, and they write them down here in this little spot underneath. They will need to make sure there's enough for 2 lines, and some of my students that have bigger handwriting, they also write it on this front section. So this is the script I use for several of the lessons in my set design. Each of my tech units, we look at a different script. And so if you purchase this individual lesson, it comes with a set design, but also if you purchase a different lesson that I have, that you're looking at the same type of script, I include the script there too. Of course, they don't need to cut it out twice if you've got the entire unit, so I include it in each one of those. So they do that, and then they create a mood board. Now I've created this, and I took these pictures from online, and I just printed them out and cut them out to give me my mood board, but they can also color these. I've had students color these for years, and they just draw them out or bring magazines if they want and use magazine pictures or any pictures that they have. So it's been pretty versatile. Now that we have computers in the classroom more, I do have them print them out because we have access to a color printer in my classroom, but that was just me purchasing a color printer for my classroom, so you probably would not have that, and they can always color that in, like I did for years. So this takes me a day to teach the slideshow and teach how to do this. And then I look at this before the end of the day. They show me what they've got. And I just kind of say, oh yeah, that looks good, or what about this? And then the next day we spend designing the mood board and all of that. My days 3 and 4, we focus on set design, plot, and sketch. Not this 3D sketch, it is this type of sketch. So I have the kids cut this out and fold this up like a little accordion so that they can use it, and we can put stuff underneath it in my next lesson. And then here is my design for practicing the plot. And then I have the lesson explaining what the symbols mean and why we use them. And then on the back here, you can't see it, very good. So you can see that I have an example right here, and it's the same one I use for when I talk about sketching the 3D design from perspective point drawing in my next lesson. But for right now, we just focus on overhead plot. And then if you don't use this space, if you're just using this for the overhead plot, I have them list and write down different designs that they want to use in other designs that they do. And then we go into creating 3D texture for set. So I have a lesson of how to draw these different textures. And the digital one is a little bit different because the colors and designs work better for in person or digitally. And on this, there is a black and white outline that fades into the bottom or the side over here. And so they start by drawing the texture on top of the lines I've already created, and then it fades and they continue drawing the texture, and then we color it in just like that. I have this lesson that takes 2 days before I teach sketching from point perspective, because I want them to be able to do this on point perspective drawing. This we have 2 more days for, and then after we get those 2 days done, or after they finish this, we move on to set design for 3D sketch. And I have a slideshow of how to create this. There's 2 different worksheets for this. One that creates this back wall and these side walls already, and then the other one's just blank with a point in the middle of it so they can do their point perspective, and it kind of looks the same. And then this is my example, and I talked to them about how this perspective is from above in an audience, which is why the walls are down, and this, oops, too many pages. And this perspective is from directly in front as an audience member, so they can see those different perspectives. But I prefer them to do this one. It's a little bit easier to have them do this to start out with. I give them 3 days for that activity because I do want it to be drawn and colored with texture. All right, sorry if the lighting changed. I just went to my cast party, and now I am back to finish this video. So after we do our 3D sketch, I move on to our 3D model. So this kind of takes what they were drawing and puts it into 3D form. On my video that shows them how to do this, I have a template that's the floor and the walls. And in that template, I include the pieces that I created, like this, the rug, and the doors. I have a few students, mostly special needs students, that I allow to just have my templates, and then they can color them how they would like to. Most of the kids don't want that. They want to just let their creativity take over, but I do have that available for them. I have an entire video lesson of how to create this that makes it fold so that they can put it in their book. And then last but not least is rigging, hardware, and knots. All right, so I've got the pictures right here. I have a slideshow where we identify all of these different types of pieces of hardware, and they write the title down and describe when they would use it and what for. And then they cut this out and put it into the pockets of what these different items are. We talked about when we would use locking items, when we would use non-locking items. And I have them color and cut these out, and then this, putting them into the pockets, is a quiz. And then we see if they can get it right and learn from the slideshow. And then right here we have our basic knots. I have them draw this before they glue it in so that they're not running off the side right here of the page, the side of the page right here. So we trace the knot in different colors so we can get the basic layout of the knot. So this one I would just go under, and then they would go over, under, over, under, and they kind of say that to themselves while they do it, and then they try to draw it without my lines here. And then I have rope in my classroom. I just have some paracord that is different colors that after they get the idea of these knots down, they can practice actually tying the knot and see with the pictures if it looks correct to them or not. And then I also have a website I use that is linked in the lessons that they have a bunch of different knots and how to do them. And then with the digital interactive notebook, this is a little different. These are drag and drop quiz. So they take notes and they type the notes on the little squares, and then they drag and drop them to the correct boxes for the quiz. And then this, they use their cursor. And then I still also always gave them those ropes. So if you're teaching the full unit the way that I teach it, my last page of the unit is right here. Then I'm going to move on to lighting. So I always have a reflection on this page. It's mostly, what did you think the hardest part was? What was the easiest part? What did you like? Is this set design for you? And we just kind of fill out this paper with their thoughts of the unit, and then we move on to the next one. So that is my set design unit. So we just go right from the overview into time period, location, mood board type of things. They have a script and a mood board. Then we do an overhead design, practice our textures, do a 3D textured design, then a 3D model. And right here, we do our rigging, hardware, and knots. I think this is the construction part that I work with them on. And then a quick reflection. I hope that helps when you're looking at how you want to teach your set design. This is available to you as a full unit or as individual lessons in Teachers Pay Teachers. It's also has, of course, those digital versions down that I showed you in the corners. If you don't feel like committing to an entire interactive notebook online or in person, I also have them available in Worksheets. I hope that helps. I also am going to be creating a video of how I do this for my Tech 2 students. So this is Tech 1. Tech 2 is much more in depth, including they actually measure out a stage and create a 3D set design of a stage that has to have set that moves, and they do it for our class plays. So they have to have all these set pieces move, every scene designed for the show, and we get into that. So that is where I continue on with my Tech 2 stuff. I will hopefully soon make a video of how I teach that for Tech 2, but this is my Tech 1 set design unit. Thanks for watching. I've put all of my links down below, so feel free to check those out. Thanks.
If this helped, please like and share. Also, if you have additional tips to help other drama teachers, please drop them down below.